his wife sent me his diary from his 33 missions. And when I read that diary, I understood why he didn't want to talk about it. But as I was reading it, I got up to mission number 28, and they bombed the town of Aachen. Yeah. And it said in troop support. And my dad was one of the troops they were supporting. He was in the 104th Infantry Division. But I wrote Winnie, I wrote his widow a note and thanked her for sending it and told her that. And she wrote me back and told me a story that when they were visiting in Edinburgh at a festival, and they ended up having dinner with a German couple, and they lived in Cologne. And Cologne was mission number 25 for Ira. And she said that on that date, that her house was bombed and all that was left was one corner with her grand piano, which she still had to that day. And Winnie said Ira was getting very nervous, and he finally said to the lady, "I'm probably the one that bombed you that day," because that had been the day that his unit had bombed Cologne. So it's a small world, you know. They're just that one little diary and with two local connections.
Did you ever hear the real story after that of that?
Of the Battle of Aachen.
No, the Battle of Aachen.
Yeah.
But Cologne was way after Aachen.
Yeah.
Aachen was the first city.
This gentleman was 1st Infantry Division, made all 3 landings, North Africa, Sicily, and Normandy. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you that little story. It's funny how these World War II things all kind of fit together. But our speaker tonight is a Hersheyite, and he and I kind of fit together. He was the principal of the junior high school here at Hershey at one time, and my wife and I had to go visit him. It had something to do with our son's deportment.
I don't remember.
But our speaker is Mr. Harold Brandt, and as I said, Harold's from here. He got 1 year in at the Hershey Junior College before Uncle Sam caught up with him, and he ended up in the 11th Armored Division in Germany under Patton's 3rd Army, and Harold went into combat on the 30th of December 1944 at a little garden spot called Bastogne. So he's got quite a story to tell you tonight. Harold Brandt.
Thank you. For 3 weeks, can you hear me? Can you hear me? For 3 weeks, I have been worried about tonight. And I do look at this group, and you all look friendly. I don't think I'll get shot at tonight. At least I hope not. I just want to start the speech by saying I will tell you the truth. Everything you hear tonight is going to be actually my memory. And to me, it's the truth. I am not a hero. I'm just a survivor. I was lucky enough to survive. And if I glorify war, please tell me, and that I'm making war look wonderful. Let me know, hey, you're making it look too grand. I like to read this. I just got this today. I will not read anything except this. Hollywood often depicts soldiers of war as invincible and fearless and eager for battle. But in actuality, the combat soldier was very human, always struggling internally. They laughed, they cried, they were scared, uncertain, and having to deal with the death of a friend or comrade must have pushed them to the limits of their emotional endurance. You wonder how these men fought the strength to move on. I guess what really kept them going was the thought of eventually returning to the safety and secure surroundings of home with family, or perhaps their sweethearts. But until that day came, they had to fight for each other to stay alive the best they could. Despite what sacrifices these men endured, they performed their job beyond expectation. This I got in the mail today from the 11th Armored Division in regards to a man named Robert Clemens, who is either the son or grandson of a man in the 11th Armored Division. I thought that was very well done. Better than I can do as far as the speech. I'm going to start off by telling about incidents that I think are just unbelievable. And some of you people I'm sure know, oh, I want to ask this first. How many people are veterans here? Raise your hand. Everybody, right? How many World War II veterans? Quite a few. How about Korea? How about Vietnam? How about since Vietnam? I can't name all of them. Okay. Oh, how many officers in here? Anybody above Lieutenant Colonel? Oh boy, I will really, I'm not going to look at you. Okay. North Platte. Have you ever heard of North Platte? North Platte, Nebraska. I thought it was fabulous. The first time we went out, there was only 6 of us on the train. We went together. 6 of us. 2 of them were going to be killed out of the 6. Anyway, we're going across the country. We come to North Platte, I think about 9 o'clock at night. Couldn't believe it. They announced that we will have a stay here for, I think, 30 minutes. And they have food and drinks. When I say drinks, soft drinks or coffee. And you ask them, how much is this? It's what you want to give. Now, I went out to North Platte on the way out. I came back for, need help here, for furlough. That's what that was called. You have to forgive me. I have a bad mind sometimes. Came back for furlough, went back, went through North Platte the 3rd time, came back a 4th time on a troop train, and I think the troop train stopped there. Every time a train stopped, the people of North Platte were there giving you food. I can't, and oh, they must have given it themselves, except for these small tokens that we gave. They did not ask for anything. It was what you wanted to give. Christmas dinner. At Christmas dinner, I can't believe it. We were traveling from December 16th. We actually went back across the English Channel because losing a anchor. We went 3 times back and forth. So about December 19th, we landed at Cherbourg. I'll talk about this later. At that point, we headed for Bastogne. And when we got to about 20 miles from Bastogne, it was Christmas morning, or it was Christmas Eve. And at Christmas Eve, we had dug a slit trench on next to our small pup tent. Is that called pup tent? Yeah. And anyway, I had the slit trench there, and I heard the first enemy machine gun. Here it was Bed Check Charlie. Now, Bed Check Charlie was a plane that came over, not every night. In fact, I can't remember it coming over too much after that. But it fired its machine gun on a house that contained supposedly the headquarters of our division. I rolled out into the slit trench, and I got my feet caught up in the tent peg, and I couldn't get out. So that's how brave I was. I rolled out first thing. Anyway, next morning is Christmas morning, and we don't have any breakfast. We don't have any lunch. And I think I'm spending the day looking for my cigarette lighter. I think that my wife sent me, and I lost it almost immediately. I don't think I had a cigarette lighter after. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, she sent me a cigarette lighter. My mother didn't know that. Anyway, it was 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're called to go into this clearing in the woods. Here we have, which is unbelievable to me, a turkey dinner to me with all the fixings. And it was, well, it had turkey and I think filling, and I'm not sure what else was on that plate. Anyway, it was unbelievable that we're on the march from December 16th, and they have turkey for us on Christmas Day. I'm giving these examples of how wonderful the United States military or army or whatever you have is. We also captured Flossenburg. Flossenburg was a concentration camp. I'm giving highlights of this. I will talk about some of this again. Flossenburg was a concentration camp. It's where Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Anybody heard of Dietrich Bonhoeffer? Some people have. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a man who was a preacher, and he came to the United States, and he could have stayed in the United States and be here in the United States. And he left to go back to fight. Actually, he fought Hitler, and he was under Hitler's command, but they finally jailed him, put him in a concentration camp, and at the end of the war, he was taken from, I'm not sure which concentration camp, to Flossenburg. He was killed on April 9th under the orders of Hitler. We captured Flossenburg around April 19th, about 10 days later. And I did not know anything about Dietrich Bonhoeffer at that time. And I tell this part of it, nobody seems to want to hear this. When we got there, here we have the tanks and half-tracks lined up in front of the gate. The prisoners are lined up on each side. The guards are coming between them, and they're beating up the guards. I won't elaborate anymore. My Musette bag was on a half-track, and I lost two half-tracks. I shouldn't say I lost two half-tracks. One half-track got hit by an 88. The other half-track was hit a mine. On this one, I got hit by an 88. I lost my Musette bag. In my Musette bag is my underwear and my shaving stuff and whatever else I might have in there. I don't know what else I had in. But this is what is so amazing to me, why I tell you this. The war is over in May of 1945. If I'm telling anything wrong, correct me. Oh, by the way, I wanted to say, you may ask me any questions at any time. Just raise your hand. I'm a school teacher. I look around. If I see a hand, I'm going to call on you. But anyway, yes.
I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
You're talking about Christmas of 42.
45.
Or 45, yeah, no.
No, 44. Yes.
44. Well, I was there. I was in front of that town you're talking about, Bastogne.
Bastogne.
I was there. We were the oldest troops overseas, and it sent us back to the harbor, or not the harbor, the Hayes Village for Christmas. But we didn't spend Christmas there, and we didn't have no turkey either.
You didn't have any
I
turkey?
laid down. We were tarred, dead tarred. I laid down. First sergeant come and kicked me. He said, "Get your men ready to move." I said, "What are you talking about? We just got here." They broke through. We got a whoop. And from that day on to the end of the war, I was never off the line.
Okay, well, you had it worse than we did because we actually, most of the time, we were 3 days in and then about 3 days out. So let's go back to the Musette bag. The Musette bag is gone as of December 31st or January 1st, 1945. Oh, I get years mixed up. I do not get out of the service until late because I didn't have enough points. I wasn't married, didn't have any children, and so I didn't get out until March of 46. And so this is probably June of 46. I'm in Hershey, Pennsylvania, eating at my kitchen table in Hershey on Caracas Avenue. There's a knock on the screen door. Were you there, Jane, when this happened? Anyway, I go to the door. It's a United States soldier. Guess what he has? My Musette bag. Now, in it was, I guess, I can't remember exactly. I need help. I guess it was my toiletries and my underwear. I guess that was in the Musette bag. But That's fantastic to me. The United States Army does something like that. On crossing the ocean, we'll go back to this sometime. We zigzagged across the ocean. What amazed me was the convoy. We were called the flagship. There were two flagships. One contained 5,000 soldiers. The other one contained another 5,000 soldiers. Around us, behind us was an aircraft carrier. That one would stay right behind us the whole time. As far as your eyes could see, you saw ships. They said there was 200 ships in this convoy. We zigzagged across. It took us 14 days. What's it take the Queen Mary to cross today? 3? 5
days.
Okay. It took us 14 days to cross. We were supposed to head for Europe. We got a reprieve. They took us to England, which was okay with me. My worst day, I guess, was still in the United States, was we were at Camp Kilmer, and we were going to be shipped out in a day or two. And we were able to get, I think, we had to get a 48-hour pass. Anyway, I got on a train at Kilmer and came to Hershey, Pennsylvania for 48 hours. And the worst part of it was that, you know how the Harrisburg Railway Station is. It's on above ground. You walk down steps to go to your train. My dad and my girlfriend took me to the station. I remember walking down the steps. I have to admit, I cried all the way down. When I got to the bottom, I looked up. They were gone. If they had still been there, I think I'd have run up the stairs. Anyway, when we get back to Camp Kilmer, I can remember getting in about 2 o'clock in the morning, and they looked at our passes, and everybody said, "He's AWOL, he's AWOL." We were all 2 hours late, so we were AWOL. They didn't do anything about it. And I think either the next day after that, we got on the ship to go off. I guess that's it. I think that's it. Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, just to give you a background. I'm 16 years old. I'm a senior in high school. And draft age is 21, 5 years. Sounded very good. On September of 1942, I'm working at Hershey Sports Arena. They announced draft age is lowered to 18. Now I'm close. I'm in junior college. Bridenstine's a dean, and coming to junior college, I believe it was February. I think it might have been on my birthday, but that's neither here nor there. Every branch of the United States service visits us there. And I can't name them all, but I mean, it was the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Coast Guard, the Air Corps, what am I missing? Anyway, they were all there. And their story to us was not if you're going to be in, when are you going in? They're saying, if you go now, you'll get the branch of service you want. Instead, I did not want to go in, and I didn't get the branch of service I want either. So, I had taken a Navy V-12 test. I don't understand if I took a test or I don't know what happened. But anyway, I was eligible into the V-12 program of the Navy, which would have sent me to college. I went down to Philadelphia to take a physical. My physical lasted exactly 30 seconds. I had 20/30 vision. They said, "Goodbye, we don't want you." So I go into the Army on July 12th, 1943, and they sent me to A-12 program, ASTP, Army Specialized Training Program. I take infantry basic at Camp Roberts, which Fort Benning was the major infantry basic training. Camp Roberts was the second. We wanted to be better than Fort Benning, but we never were, I guess. Anyway, I get to college, go to college of Puget Sound, and I think, isn't this great? We get there Thanksgiving Day or thereabouts, and the Army knows they can't keep us there because they know there's going to be a D-Day invasion sometime around June. So I'm not sure how many men were in college. Anybody can help me? 10,000 men in college? I don't know.
There was thousands.
More than that.
Yeah.
More than that. Anyway, every ASTP as of March, oh, I know, it was March 13th that we ended up at Camp Cook, California. And we got there at 2 o'clock in the morning. And the guy, there was a lieutenant there to entertain us from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And he let us know probably every one of you will be going in the infantry. Now, they used to say that the reason they wanted us in the 11th Army Division, they needed to raise their IQ high enough so they could get overseas. I don't believe that is true. Anyway, in training, they showed us the movie Baptism of Fire. Now, Baptism of Fire was a good movie. The only thing wrong with it, it gave you the wrong lesson. They said if you are brave for the first 24 hours, you got it made. That wasn't quite correct. You may be brave for the first 24 hours. You may be brave for the first week. You may be brave for the first month. But you do crack every once in a while. You lose your bravery. You can't be brave all the time. Anyway, I had a desire to remember everything that happened in combat. I thought, I wanted to know what it's like so I can tell people what it's like. So I had done this with school kids. This is the first time to an adult audience. So I am a little bit more nervous than speaking to the school kids. And I forgot to say, in the Army of Occupation after the war, I have a fellow here who said we found it up that we made enemies of the German people and they had to use all kind of Band-Aids to patch things up. Is that right, Tom?
Navy.
Navy. Oh, you were in the Navy. Oh, my gosh. Okay. When we went overseas on the Count of the Savoy, it was the 15th largest ship afloat, an Italian luxury liner. 5,000 soldiers on it. And I was down at the 5th, down 5 flights. I was down close below the waterline. And when I got down there, if I didn't lay down, I'd get seasick. So I spent most of my time on deck. But we zigzagged across. We only got 2 meals a day. And in the mess hall was a very nice mess hall. But what shocked me, at nighttime I'd come to the mess hall to listen to the World Series. St. Louis Browns against the St. Louis Cardinals. And guess what the mess hall looked like? Las Vegas. The lights were down, people had the green helmets on, and they were playing all kind of games. I mean, it was amazing. Every part of the ship had a game going, whether it was poker or craps or whatever, and it was just amazing. One guy supposedly had won $10,000 and sent the money home to build a house. I don't know if that's true, but anyway, that's made a good story. We ended up, instead of going to Europe, they needed our tanks worse than they needed the men. The 6th Armored Division needed our tanks and half-tracks. And so the tanks and half-tracks went to Europe, we went to England. We got there around, I'm not sure what day, maybe October 5th or somewhere in there, I'm not sure. And we were there until January 16th. It was a nice reprieve. Finally, we got the call, and I believe I'm right, it was on December 16th, the same day the Germans attacked in the Battle of Bulge. I think it was December 16th. I can't believe this. They gave us orders at 7 o'clock, move out at 11. 4 hours we had to pack and get ready. And some of the guys were in town, and I was, of course, in the barracks as usual. So anyway, I can remember in 4 hours' time, we found everybody in town, got them into the barracks, and we got on a truck and headed for Southampton. And then we got on, instead of a big ship, we were on a British ship. And the British did have lousy food. I mean, that's supposed to be. And 3 times we lost our anchor. So we went over across the channel, came back to pick up an anchor, came back the 3rd time, and then we needed the anchor because we went to Cherbourg, and Cherbourg Harbor wasn't clear enough for us to go up to the wharf, so we had to stay out about a 1/4 mile in the harbor. And can you imagine, I can't believe I could do this. We had to climb down a rope ladder what, a robot is called something else.
Jacob's ladder.
What is it called?
Jacob's ladder.
Jacob's ladder, but it was why?
Cargo,
is
a
that
cargo
Jacob's
net.
ladder? Okay.
Cargo net.
A cargo net, there you go. Who told me that? Thank you. I knew I could depend on you. Anyway, we went down a cargo net, and I can't believe I could do this. I had my duffel bag on my left shoulder, I had my gas mask on, had my rifle on my right shoulder, and I guess I had a
Pack.
field pack on the back,
Right.
and here I am, and I'm afraid of high places. I thought sure I'd fall into the water. Of course, there was a little boat underneath that would pick us up, and my brother-in-law was at Cherbourg that day, and we came in about what, I don't know what time, we didn't get in. We didn't get off our ship at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we got trucks, took us out about 2 miles outside of Cherbourg, and there, believe it or not, were our half tracks. Not the same half track that was in the ship that went to the 6th Army Division, but there was our half track driver, and we were ready to go on from there. Now, we stayed there that night, and next morning, we, as a division, headed for Paris, and from there on into Bastogne. We didn't know our destination at first. Our march across Europe was not too bad. We went, I guess, the one day halfway to Paris. The second day we went through Paris, and I can't believe this, but the streets of Paris were loaded with people to see us come through. And you know why? They were happy to see a division ready to stop the Germans who had broken through by this time. We were quite unawares as to the details of this. Oh yeah, I wanted to say, we used to joke about what's the big picture. I wanted to say to you, what I'm telling you are going to be a bunch of little pictures. I'm not going to give you any big pictures, well, I'll give you some. But most of what I tell you about are little pictures of what happened to us. So anyway, December 24th, we were in Sissonne, S-I-S-S-O-N-E, Sissonne, France. And we got there, and we were going to go into a building. We went into a building, I guess it's 7 o'clock at night. And lo and behold, am I right about this? Yeah. Lo and behold, we were told to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and be ready to go. And when we got up, we took our duffel bags, they were duffel bags, yeah, not barracks bags. We took our duffel bags and put them in a big warehouse. And we all lined them up here in this warehouse, and I know what was in my mind. Well, that's the last time I ever see that duffel bag. Now, my duffel bag contained practically everything. All I had left was what was in my musette bag, which I can't remember was anything in but underwear and shaving stuff. I don't remember anything else in there. So anyway, we left at 6 in the morning, and we didn't know why we had to leave so early. But I'm wrong in the date. This would be December 24th, not Christmas Day. December 24th, we get close to Bastogne, and lo and behold, here comes airplanes across. The sky is filled with airplanes. And we think, boy, are the Germans going to get it today? Well, the Germans didn't get it today. Those were the airplanes, left the supplies drop into the people in Bastogne. They dropped everything, and this airplanes, there was, I don't know, I don't want to overestimate, but there were hundreds of airplanes. The sky was just covered with planes, and of course they went in, and in 3 minutes they were coming back out. They were going, we were that close to Bastogne, dropping ammunition, supplies, food into the troops of Bastogne. December 25th, I already told you about. December 24th, we were close to Bastogne, and I can remember the lieutenant saying, we're supposed to set up a guard post out here, and if a German tank comes along, we're supposed to shoot at it. At that point, this was really great. I thought it was wonderful. I said, what are we going to shoot at with? Well, he says, with your bazooka. I said, we don't have any ammunition for the bazooka. Can you guess what his answer was? Simulate ammunition. Well, anyway, no tank came down the road, so we were okay. But that was December 24th, And then I reiterated the December 25th day. On the 26th and 27th, we moved closer to Bastogne. On December 28th and 29th, I think we've got even, well, December 29th, we went to a town, I don't know the name of the town, but it was close to a town called Ravatna. And I was on guard duty. Well, we used to guard duty every night. But the guy I was on guard duty with, I think we were on 2 Rs, was a guy named Joe Banana. Now, I shouldn't mention his name, really. Joe Banana, as far as I know, had a dad who was a gangster in New York City. And this Joe Banana was in the kitchen and was put in our squad just the day before. In fact, the picture I have of our squad, I'll pass it around. I guess I won't mess you up. In case you can't pick me out, I'm on the left-hand side front row. Next to me is the squad leader. And next to the squad leader in the front row are the 2 men who lost their lives. And behind me is a man, and the names are on the back. Smith lost his leg, and everybody on this picture by the end of the war is no longer with the division except myself and Cook, who was in the middle in the back row. Cook got hit in the back at Wall near Bastogne, came back in about 3 weeks, and then he was on the half track when we hit a mine. We take that. That's our squad taken in England, and not one of those. Well, only Cook and I were left when the war was over. So where was I? Now I get lost. Oh, Joe Bonanno. Joe Bonanno is standing guard duty with me, and he's saying to me, he says, you know, there's not much hope for us. There's not much to live for. And I had to agree with him. I mean, it was. That's the way it was. So Joe Bonanno gave me 2 R's of how bad things are. So the next day, that's December 29th and December 30th, we get up at 6, 7, or 8 o'clock in the morning. We get on our half tracks, and we're ready to go into combat. Guess who's not on the half track?
Joe Bonanno.
Joe Bonanno. Joe Bonanno, I talked with our company commander. His name was Dale Howard. I talked to him years later at my house. I mentioned Joe Bonanno, and Dale says, yeah, I forgot all about him. I don't know what ever happened to him. I mean, whether he ever got back to the United States or whether he's still in Europe, I don't know where he is.
He died last year sometime.
What's that?
He was a gangster. He died, I think, last year. So he was
Well,
about 80
that was
years
his
old.
dad.
He was a gangster.
That's his dad.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
his dad?
I think so.
Oh, this is the kid. Okay.
Okay. But I'm glad to hear. I mean, I'm telling you the truth anyway. Joe Bonanno, I guess that was his dad, because Joe Bonanno was a head gangster in New York City.
New York City, yeah.
Yeah. I always wanted to see whether I'd ever find Joe again. So anyway, on December 30th, we attack, and I'm in the half track, and we're driving through this town called Rondeau, and all traffic, our half track stopped by the line of traffic in front of us. I mean, in front of us were tanks and half tracks, and so we were told to get out of the half track. So in this town of Rondeau, I walked to the back of the house, into the garden, and when I come back up to the front of the house, I'm standing at the house like this, is the corner of the house. I'm standing this way. Actually, it's on my left, but that doesn't make any difference. The next thing I know, a bullet hits right there. I think to myself, oh my God, I almost got hit. So I'm shaking all over. I go to the back of the garden, and I don't want to come to the front anymore. Here, it must have been somebody in the church bell tower who took a shot at us. Anyway, it was a close one. Of course, you always have close ones. So anyway, finally, our half track gets hit by a tank that the fender, or that's not a fender, or something, a flap had to be pulled away. But anyway, we get back in the half track. We go about 2 miles down the road to a town called Chennai, and there that day, that's when the shells land over top of us. I mean, when I say they land beyond us about 100 yards, and one of the guys in the half track says, they're landing close today. So anyway, this is our baptism of fire. and they tell me to build dig a hole. I dig a hole in the side of a bank, which I did find the place where it was. I've been back to Europe 7 times since then. I dig there, then a couple hours later, we move up into another area of the Cheney. I dig another hole there with a guy to help me. We come back about 11 o'clock at night, back to where I had already dug that hole. They tell me to dig another hole. Well, by the time I dig 3 holes, I am tired. And at 12 o'clock at night, we're told to mount up, and I don't know where we were going. And I talked to colonels and people of high rank. They don't know what we were doing that night. I don't think anybody knew what we're doing. But anyway, we drive all night. We drive all night. This is bitter cold. The temperature is, I'm guessing, 10 degrees. We're in our, of course, our convertibles without a top, you know, and the half-track is convertible. So we drive all night. I can't remember when it came daylight, but then let's see the first picture. Can you see that with the lights on? This picture was taken, actually everything's right here. Half tracks of the 11th Armored near Bastogne on December 31st. That's the correct date. The division's Task Force Poker, and they called it, I think we had Task Force Poker and another task force, found itself facing the western pinch of the German attack. Now, what happened at this point, the big picture, I'll tell you the big picture. Hitler said, we did not gain our objective of, what town do you want to get in? Antwerp, thank you. We didn't make Antwerp, but we are going to take Bastogne. He said, we will take Bastogne. So they turned all the forces around and had them heading toward Bastogne. And that's when December 31st, well, that was December 30th. But December 31st, we're in this field. I've been back to this field. Oh, if you can believe it, this is I. That is I. The guy in the front is Duncan. The picture that's being passed around, everybody's on that picture except, well, Joe Bonanno's not on that picture because he was actually a cook and was put into our squad at the end. But anyway, there are about 8 men in this picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, there's 9. This is Matthew Schultz. Matthew Schultz will be hit in about less than 24 hours. Anyway, Duncan, he's the assistant squad leader. I'm a PFC at this point. He says to me when this photographer comes through the woods there. Now, that amazes me. I didn't see this picture. When that picture was taken, something told me I will see that picture again. I can't believe it. I did not see that picture until 1992. My son's wife made a little bit of a 22-page history of my stay in the Army, and she wrote it in 1990. I did not mention this picture in that little history of hers. So anyway, when this picture was taken, Duncan said, run over to the photographer. Tell him that you're Harold Brandt from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and everybody in the United States will have heard of you. Well, I didn't go over. I thought I'd rather not let them know that. I'd rather be anonymous. So anyway, when this picture was taken, about 20 minutes later, we head up in an attack that goes down a road. And there's, from where this picture is taken, there's a road that heads toward Bastogne in that direction. We go down that road, make a left turn, go through a fence, and come up into a town called Pensamont. At Pensamont, we think, well, this isn't too bad. Tanks are all around us. The tanks are firing at each other. They're machine guns. And I can remember a guy in the half-track says, yeah, I guess this is the way the war will be. The tanks will be fighting, and we'll be here watching or something. So anyway, we were there, and this was still daylight. We made this attack about, say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be dark in another 20, 30 minutes. And finally, it's dark, And Dale Howard, who, by the way, is a great company commander. I forgot to tell you about her. I'll come back to that sometime. I forgot to finish. Anyway, Dale says, you go down this road, and what we did from Pinsamont, we went out here, went down a hill, made a left turn. On the left turn, I have a picture of that road. Take that picture off, put that next picture on. Maybe I did that road. Yeah, great. On the right road. We went down this road. Pinsamont had been out here. This is the road to Wreckerball. From Wreckerball is another 2 miles to Bastogne. When we get about at that corner, the half track in front of us has an 88 hit the back of the half track. Now, I didn't talk about a half track there. A half track was made for 12 people, 8 in the back, 3 in the front, and the 9th man stands back looking for airplanes. The 9th man stands. In the back of that half track, this half track gets hit by an 88. It is one half track in front of us. The 88 hits right in the middle. Now, I know one of the men very well. He became a doctor. But anyway, the 4 men in the middle half track were killed outright. The 4 at the corners, all were wounded. Robert Doust lost a leg, and Robert Doust is a doctor from Massachusetts, who I talked to later on, years later. Anyway, what do you think we did as a half track and what do you think we did?
Dale.
We turned around and ran. We ran back. We went back to Pinsamont. So Dale Howard meets us there. So what does Dale do? He says, you guys get back down. So we had to go back down and take the next picture. I think it might be all right. I can't believe I had that in order. And that's pretty good. Yeah, this is the field. These pictures were taken by Rapon. Tim Rapon, that's one of the Rapon boys, went to Belgium and Europe, and I asked him to take pictures of Wreckerball. So most of these pictures are his. This is the field we went in. All 26 half tracks are in that field. And I am lucky. I think I'm lucky. Anyway, we lay there for about 2 hours. We get shelled, and finally somebody says, dig in. So I dig a hole. It takes me 4 hours to get the thing dug. I have a big rock to get out. I only have an entrenching tool about that big. And I finally get a split trench that I have about this much protection from the ground, and I'm next to the road. And I'm okay, except along the road, tanks are coming down. So my major worry is a tank going off the road, and I won't be here to tell you about it. So anyway, a shell does land on the road. I only know one shell lands on the road. But the Germans have a PA system set up. And the German on the PA system, when every shell lands, then he laughs a hideous laugh, and then he goes, medic, medic. And of course, it isn't long before the men of my division, my company, are yelling medic. And the medics are the bravest men in the world. They go up to a person that yells medic and gives him first aid. And of the guys that were wounded in that field that night, I think every one of them lived, except of course the guys in the half track that got hit on the way down. Also, they captured kind of German soldiers back at the crossroads that we came across. And a man named Virgil Hathaway was to guard these 2 German soldiers. Here a shell lands and he gets hit in the throat and loses his voice box. 2 weeks later, he's in the hospital in England. He writes to somebody in Company A. He says, I'm in bad shape. But he says, I'm better off than you are. I'm going to live. I'm going to make it with my voice box. He can talk today. And I have not seen Virgil Hathaway since then. I have written to him, invited him to our reunions. He has not yet shown up. He might show up this year in Washington. Well, I guess I got that. German had a PA system. The tanks came by me, and I was lucky to the extent that I was at the road there, and there was a pretty big hill beyond that road. The road was narrow. It wasn't too, well, you saw the road, about 2 lanes wide. So the tanks kept coming by, and I can't believe this, but the tanks came down and apparently lined up across the road and had their barrels across the road. I'm not sure if they were facing this way or this way. Along comes a truck, and the truck says, "Raise your barrels, please." And the first tank raises its barrel. He goes to the second tank, "Raise your barrel, please." And the second tank thinks he's going to raise his barrel, and Lieutenant Stratton was close by, and it was pitch dark that night, by the way. But at that point, the clouds and the moon did shine, and he could see in the truck was a German helmet. And here the German is saying, "Raise your barrel, please." And Stratton, at that point, kills the driver and stops this. And of course, the guy on the PA system, you don't hear him anymore. I don't know what happened to him. But anyway, this is amazing to me. We have a reunion every year. The guys at the reunion, I talk about the PA system. Guess how many people remember the PA system? One, besides me. I'm glad I have him to remember, or the whole thing didn't happen. But anyway, I am so happy that morning arrives. The sun comes up. It's misty. But it's daylight. I'm glad that daylight comes. We go into the farmhouse right there. We have coffee and donuts. And then the lieutenant says, "There's a hill over here. If you get to that hill," he says, "it'll be a field day." Oh, this is almost unbelievable. Our officers, the company commander, and I guess we had 4 officers there, they climbed that hill about 7 o'clock in the morning. All is quiet, nothing. And so they say, "We can go up to that hill and we will have a shooting gallery as the Germans come over their horizon." So that sounds pretty good. So we go up to that hill, and we go on the right side of the hill first, and a guy named Joe Cullen, he's a sergeant, staff sergeant, and this hill is made of terraced hillside. You know what a terraced hillside is. And there's about maybe 8, 9 terraces on it. Anyway, Joe Cullen climbs up 2 of those terraces, shoots his gun, shoots his rifle, his M1. I hear a German rifle, he gets hit in the leg. Just then he comes rolling back, he's wounded, and our lieutenant says, "We're supposed to go to the other part of the hill." And to this day, I feel guilty. Joe Cullen died of that wound. So we go to the other part of the hill. And on the other part of the hill, the lieutenant tells Cook and I that we're supposed to go up the hill. And I have to admit, I didn't go first. Cook finally went 3 steps and hit the ground. I thought, well, if Cook can do it, I can do it. I went 3 steps and hit the ground. And I don't remember how many times we did this. But finally, Matthew Schultz, the guy in the picture next to me, where's the picture by this time? Okay, fine. Matthew Schultz says to me, that sounds like artillery. Matthew Schultz says to me, no, he doesn't say to me, he yells, "Heinies." And here Matthew Schultz is a sharp man. He sees a machine gun right here, and right here he sees breath coming out of the hole. Here there are 2 Germans in this hole, a foxhole, with an American machine gun right on top of it. They get the 2 Germans out. So the machine gun's over here maybe 20 yards. So I'm over here. So I think maybe I'm laying on top of a foxhole. So I look, and by darn, from about here to the 5th row, I can see a foxhole. I can see the ground. There's snow on the ground. I can see the ground on top of the snow. So a man named Slam Marshall, S-L-A-M Marshall, has written a book. He has interviewed frontline soldiers in Europe and in the Pacific. He has learned in Second World War only 10% or 50% of the men shoot their rifles. 10%, 50% maybe, shoot their rifles in the front lines. I mean, it's okay to shoot your machine gun from an airplane, you know, but to shoot your rifle at a human being is something not easy to do. Well, at this point, I see a foxhole from about here to the 5th row. So I think, hot dog, I can shoot my rifle. So I aim at the foxhole. Of course, I think to myself, now the whole German army, when I shoot this rifle, will know right here there's an American soldier. So I roll over to here, and then nobody shot at me. So I then take 2 or 3 more shots at the foxhole, and then all the guys around me see what I'm shooting at. Everybody shoots the foxhole. And guess what happens? Out comes a prisoner. Out comes a German soldier. He's between me and, let's say, the 5th row. I couldn't believe it. And I can't believe what we did then. Some guy made him take his shoes off. This is midwinter. This is December. And, of course, somebody takes him on back. And I don't know whatever happened to him. I really would have liked to meet that guy. By the way, my thoughts of the German soldier, when I saw him, I thought to myself, he looks just like me. He looks no different than me, except he has a German uniform on. So anyway, I don't know how I get, but Johnny Bond and I are in 2 foxholes on this side of the hill. We are the farthest advanced, and I'm not saying this to try to be proud. I just happened to get there. I don't know how I got there. So anyway, we are in 2 foxholes. Johnny Bond is up there looking around. Johnny Bond is actually the platoon sergeant at this point. The platoon sergeant was hit in the half-track when our half-track had hit back in the field. So Johnny Bond, his half-track is back, is conked out. He comes up to be with us. And Johnny Bond is what I would call a real soldier. He looks around behind him. He sees the machine gun needs ammunition. How many are trying? Oh my God, 8 o'clock. Anyway, he sees the machine gun needs ammunition. He goes down, gets a machine gun, ammunition. Then the Lieutenant Judd gets hit. He gets Lieutenant Judd off the battlefield. And Lieutenant Judd, at reunions, talked to me and felt he was the cause of Johnny Bond's death. Johnny Bond, after getting the lieutenant off the battlefield, I don't know why he does this, but he comes running to be back with me, and he runs from here into that door back there, and he gets hit. He gets hit between the eyes. We lost 4 or 5 soldiers, and next morning we went up that hill for a second time with stretchers and brought our dead off of there. Cecil Cantrell was our first sergeant, a real first sergeant, a real tough first sergeant. He was killed. Matthew Schultz lost his life, the man who found the guy's breath coming out of the hole. So anyway, we stayed in Recreval another day, and that night we went down. Get the next picture. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Don't do it.
Okay.
I have that out of order. We stayed in a house at the corner, and in the house, about 7 of us spent that night in the kitchen. I've been back to this house. The people who live in that house, their name is Jackways. The town above us is Humont. That's not the right. Hubert. Hubert. Hubert is where Dr. Jackway's family is from. These people, their name is Jackways. They didn't pronounce it Jackways. They pronounce it Jacks. Anyway, I've been back to this house 6 times now. She knows me. She was not there that night. They were 40 miles away. The man of the house fought against the Germans. But this is Jack Blaze. In this house, Lieutenant Stratton, I can remember, was there. About 7 of us were in the kitchen. We stayed in the kitchen until a shell hit the window right at the kitchen. At that point, the house and the barn are connected. We went into the barn. And we went into the barn, Duncan, the guy in the front of the half-track, I laid my coat on the floor, we laid on my coat, and then we covered with his coat. And that's where we spent the rest of the night, in the barn. We thought the barn is better protection. We stayed another 24 hours in there. We came out of Wrecker Ball the next day, relieved by the 17th Airborne, and I walked out of Wrecker Ball. I don't think my feet hit the ground all the way out to the half-tracks where they were back there where we started from. And it's so surprising. What do you have? Oh, there's the house. Great. And hey, Larry, you're great. This is the window that got hit. This is the kitchen. This is the barn, interconnected. And we stayed in there that, what would that be, that'd be January 1st. We stayed in there January 2nd. We went out and got the dead off the battlefield. It was quiet, nothing, and the 17th Airborne relieved us. And then we went out, and then we had a week's reprieve because we got hit that badly. Old Patton wasn't too happy with us. Patton said we were a pretty poor outfit. And he came to the general, and after he bowled out the general, a GI was standing in the hall, or sitting in the hallway, or laying in the hallway, and Patton almost tramped on him. And the soldier says, can't you see I'm trying to sleep? And Patton's answer to him was, well, I'm glad to know somebody knows what they're doing. So anyway, Patton then, I'm just going to be jumping around here. Patton then never liked our general. Our general stayed, his name was Kilburn, and he was with us until March. And in March, his tanks were 30 minutes late, got bogged down in mud, and they relieved Kilburn and brought in a General Dagger from the 4th Armored Division. Somebody's here from the 4th Armored. Where's that guy? Who's from? Oh, you are. Okay. So anyway, Dagger came in from the 4th Armored. So then a day or two later, by this time we were on the road march where you had 5 tanks in front and 5 half-tracks. The lead tank, in the front of the lead tank was a Jeep or Peep, and the colonel was in there. They led the attack. Anyway, about 3 or 4 days later, they sent us a notice. Today you did what the 4th Armored does every day. I thought it was a great compliment to us. So, we were out of combat for about a week, and on January 13th, we moved to Longchamps. And at Longchamps, we are going to make an attack. By this time, we didn't have any replacements. We were down to about 35, 40 men out of 250. Now they weren't all wounded. There were a lot with cold feet, frozen feet, and other injuries. They weren't all casualties. But anyway, at Longchamps, we made an attack, and our company was the last out into the field. And when we got on the hill outside of Longchamps, here we get shelled. But guess how we got shelled? By friendly fire. The fire was coming from Bastogne. And don't ask me, I say you may ask me questions. You may ask me any questions you want at any time. But I heard the artillery piece go off in Bastogne. I was facing Bastogne. Now don't ask me why I was facing Bastogne. The enemy's out here, and I'm laying this way with my head toward Bastogne. I don't understand why I was doing that, but anyway. I hear this artillery piece go off in Bastogne. I don't know why. I knew where that shell was coming. I had it figured out it's going to hit me on the head. And I thought, I was just afraid to get up. So when the artillery piece starts off, you can hear it for the first 10 seconds. Then it disappears. Then you hear for the last 10 seconds when it's going to land. And so that's what it did. But it didn't quite hit me on the head. It landed about where my wife's sitting, the lady in the red sweater. The man next to me got hit. That shrapnel went out over me and missed me completely. I didn't get touched. I was very lucky. So that I consider to be my closest one. We then, after Longchamps, we went to Hoffeles, and Hoffeles is where the Battle of Bulge was ended. And we met the First Army coming from the north. I mean, they were coming from the west, I guess, wasn't it? I don't know. I get directly upset. They came from the northwest anyway, somewhere in that area. And we met there at Hoffeles. By the way, I saw one of the nice, to me it was a nice scene. Oh, we made an attack through the woods there at Hoffeles, and the guys with me, they said it was the greatest attack we ever made. Now, we went through this woods, and we were all firing our rifles as we went through. And we weren't firing at anything, we were just firing. And he said, that's the way we should be attacking. Now, when we got through the woods, we went down around the town, no, not a town, just a building with a farmhouse. And then we circled another woods, and there were there were more wounded Germans laying there, and the one wounded German motioned for me to come over to help him. I didn't go over, and I also feel guilty about it. Maybe I could have helped him. But then, a half an hour or so later, here a German medic and an American medic are side by side getting the Germans off the battlefield. I thought it was wonderful when I saw that. We were going to take it easy that day. I mean, after I dug those foxholes that first day, I only dug one more foxhole in my life. I was too tired to dig. You know, it was just too much. You're asking too much of me to dig. So anyway, we were going to use a bomb hole. 10 of us were going to stay in that bomb hole. And we were getting planks to cover the bomb hole. We were cutting down trees, that's what we were doing, to cover it. And so after working like that and getting about 3 or 4 trees to cover the bomb hole, here the 17th Airborne relieves us, and we go back out of Hoffeles, and we're back 2 miles away. The next day, in my half-track, I'm the only guy in the half-track with the driver. I'm the only one in that half-track. And when we go back to, Longchamps to get 3 days rest, and a black tank outfit relieves us. And in the Second World War, the blacks were not integrated into a white unit. They were separate. And the black unit, of course, they were looked as scared as we looked, which is understandable. Then we went to the Siegfried Line, and I like to say this. I'm running short of time here, I guess. At the Siegfried Line, Dale Howard, am I getting close? All right. Dale Howard, I think, should have had a bigger reward than he ever had. We detonated an attack. We got up about 2 o'clock in the morning. We had breakfast, and it was dark. You didn't know what was in the mess kit, but we ate it. I had no idea what it was. And anyway, we started off. I have to admit, if you ever slept walk, I slept walk that night. As we walked from about 3 o'clock, maybe it was 4, till 6, at least 2 hours and every 3 hours, we walked down a road. There, after we walked for about 2 hours down the road, Dale Howard had never been over this before. He just did this by maps, and he did a tremendous job. After we walked for 2 hours down this road, he got out a cloth with his wire clippers, the cloth to keep from making noise. He cut the wire, so we went through the fence there. We had about 35 to 50 men making this attack. It was so dark that when we got through into the field, we were no longer in the road. We couldn't follow who we were. We couldn't see the man in front of us. So they told us to put our hand on the man's shoulder in front of us. We walked for maybe, 5 minutes, and the guy behind me went off in that direction. And I didn't yell because they were supposed to be quiet, but I got the notice to Dale, we lost most of our company. And didn't Bensley go over there and find him and get him back in order? Now, the timing was just great. I mean, this really, if they ever could make a movie, this would be a great movie. But anyway, Dale, we walked for another hour, and Dale said, well, we all laid down. So we were all laying down, and it was still dark. In about 20 minutes, you could see the dragon's teeth. We were at the dragon's teeth. We saw 3 pillboxes up there, and all of a sudden, a German machine gun opens up. I think, oh boy, we're dead. We're laying right down here, and there they open up the machine gun. Here the guy was only clearing his gun. He didn't see us. And in another 2-3 minutes, Dale said, go take those 3 pillboxes. Well, the one on the left, we were supposed to take, and our platoon, we took the one on the right, and somebody else took the one on the left. Guess what? The one on the right had no Germans, the one on the left had Germans in it. How lucky can you be? But then the third pillbox had 17 German in. And after we took the pillbox with no German in, it means we have a tough fight, you know. Anyway, each pillbox was connected with a trench, and so we had to get out into the trenches. The 17 German soldiers were throwing potato mashers at us. That's a hand grenade. And every one of them, you know, you see it up in the air, everyone looked like it's coming right down on top of you. And I should not say this because it makes me look pretty good, which it really isn't. We had by this time replacements with us. And the replacement said to me, what do we do, Sarge? And I said, well, I guess, here, have a cigarette. So we had a cigarette. So anyway, after about, then we got shot at from the town. That's right, the town down there shot at us. And it was Americans shooting at us. This is friendly fire. Friendly fire is quite often friendly fire. Of course, friendly fire is unfriendly too. But anyway, Lieutenant Dunn is still with us, and Lieutenant Dunn says, I'll go down and tell them we're Americans. Oh yeah, we yelled down, hey, we're Americans. Those guys down there said, well, prove it. So anyway, Dunn runs down, and he stays with them. He likes it down there, I guess. And the guys, the 17 guys in the pillbox on our right, I think this is correct, they killed their leader, who's an SS trooper, and they come over and surrender to us. All 17 of us. All 17 of us. So the battle for that day is over. The next day, another company goes through us to attack the next day, and then we attack the third day. The fourth day they attack, and the fifth day we attack. And the fifth day when we attacked, the Siegfried line was 9 miles deep. And the sixth day we attacked, we, at nighttime, by the way, Cook, the guy that got hit at Wrecking Ball in the back, he's back with us. And this is when we take a minesweeper. We take a minesweeper, and our squad, we're lucky. They say our squad should defend the minesweeper. So we walk up this road to within about 10 yards of the town. All's quiet. No shrapnel, no shelling. Everything's quiet. We walk up within 10 yards of the town, and there's a guy in the back that's supposed to count so many steps. When he goes, I don't know how many steps, 5,000 steps, he's supposed to tell the lieutenant who's in charge, we went 5,000 steps. So, of course, we could hardly wait for him to say 5,000 steps. So we come on back, we go into a pillbox to sleep the night. Next morning, we make a mounted attack up this road. Our half track is the second half track. And here we were the people who swept the road. When our half track gets off the road to peel off, guess who hits a mine? We do. Or the squad that's protecting the minesweeper. And it was so funny. George Kotlitz was in the first squad, and he's running into the town, and I thought it was real funny. He's going like this to us. And we're all dazed because we hit a mine. So in about, it took us maybe 2-3 minutes, we came in with him. We ran down the street, did another outfit coming in from the other direction, shoot at us again with friendly fire. And then we start shooting at the windows of the houses. And some guy yells, "Here they come!" And out come the German soldiers to surrender to us. Wasn't that nice? Then we go to the end of the town. Then we're supposed to take the high ground. And we all were reluctant to go take the high ground because there's an open field there. So Lieutenant Dunn says, "Well, we'll send a tank out first." So they send the tank out. Shells come in to hit the tank backs up. So Lieutenant Dunn says, "Okay, now you guys go." So Charlie Fitch is a brave guy. He says, "I'll go first." So he goes, we go one at a time across this open area, and our whole company that's there, we can cross this area safely, and we are up there on a hill, and at this point, the 6th Armored Division comes in from the other side to take the houses, and we have German soldiers trapped, and Dale and about 3 guys run down the hill, and all these German soldiers surrender to us. Well, then in the later part of the war, we get in our half-tracks, and we have 5 tanks, 5 half-tracks, 5 tanks, 5 half-tracks. It might extend for all the distance from 30, 40 miles. And we make an attack. This is in April, or late March, April, into May. And we do not receive too much enemy fire. We do get strafed about May 5th. And I can remember, boy, did I run for the hill, I ran for the mountains or the woods. But it was so nice. We got strafed. 5 minutes later, American aircraft was over top of us, protecting us. So this is the later part of the war. And we do get shot at a few times, but not too much. In fact, the last man killed was April 15th, a man named Tucker. He was a regular soldier, became a half-track driver, and here he gets out of the half-track and gets shot by small arms fire. Any questions? I covered pretty much. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
What kind of planes strafed you, Harold? Do you remember?
German planes.
Is it a jet?
Yeah, I did not mean as a smart answer. I don't know. I never. You know, we told our airplanes by the West system, and you know what WEFT stands for? We're wrong every F time. Yes.
When you went into Westone, Patton broke in and relieved the 101st Airborne
Right.
and got them out of there. They were dropping supplies. They were surrounded for 31 days.
Yes.
And they were dropping supplies. That's the reason they could hold off. Because C-47s were dropping supplies every day.
Right.
And they were surrounded in there, caught, and Patton moved in with his tanks. As much as I don't like that man, never did. He just broke in and he got him out, the 101st Airborne, and this battalion that this winter was in.
Yeah, one other thing I'd like to say here. With the 101st in there, and I don't mean to say this to take away from the 101st, there was a battalion of the 10th Armored in there. 10th Armored was in Bastogne also. Am I right, Jack?
Yes, and remnants of
I have-
CCR 9th Armored Division too.
If I get fouled up here, I have Jack to ask, and I have Mr. Jackson to ask. Go ahead.
How long did you stay in Germany after the end of the war? What did you do?
Germany was my home. No, I'm just kidding. I was there until March of '46. I was in Europe a year and a half. And I'll say this, and I please don't misunderstand me. Germany was so destroyed when I came to the United States in March of '46, and I got on the train and saw the United States untouched. It just, I have to admit, it didn't seem right. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? It was unbelievable. The United States, this was already, I mean, not that I wanted it destroyed, but I mean, it just didn't look right. You know what I'm saying? So I got out on March 31st. That's yesterday. Yes.
When you landed in Shoreboard,
Yes.
went over and marched in there, you said for a couple days, when you marched, was it like a steady march the whole time? Did you guys stop and where'd you sleep at and stuff like that on your way into Bastogne?
Okay, on the way into Bastogne, we only slept from Cherbourg into where we were actually at a town called Liebermann, New Chateau. That's where we ended up. We only got in a building one time. The rest of the time, we were on the ground. Okay, we slept on the ground. One of the worst nights, I want to tell you, and I get you, Jack. One night at the Siegfried line, like it rained, I mean, it really poured. And our whole company, our whole company was there in the woods. And it poured. You know, when I say it poured, it was the worst rain, well, not worst. It was as bad as any rainstorm I've ever been in. I sat up against a tree, had my overcoat on, sat there against that tree. I didn't want to lay down. And the only thing that kept me going was I looked around and we're all suffering the same plight. And this is unbelievable to me. My raincoat was soaked. Next morning, I wear that raincoat and I don't get sick. You know, I'm okay. How do you figure that? I mean, I was soaked. We all were soaked. Jack, you wanted to ask a question?
February 1945, especially after that is infamous as far as one of the rainiest and muddiest times. I was just interested in some of your experiences with General Mud.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it was just unbelievable. I'd like to tell you this too. We went up the Siegfried line several times. We'd only get into the Dragon's Teeth, and there we'd stop. And our pillbox had been destroyed because it had been taken before, and the American forces destroyed it. So there we were with the pillbox with the roof, you know, half off, and a couple shells landed right on top of the roof. Now, by this time, we had replacements with us who had not seen combat. And here I am, a real veteran, you know. I've been in combat now, 15, 30 days, you know. Oh, man, I'm a real veteran. But anyway, some guy said to me, Sarge, do you think the roof will hold? I said, yeah, I think it will hold. But then the next morning, Franklin Fields and I went and got donuts. And we put the donuts in our helmet. And all we had to eat was donuts that morning, besides cake rations sometimes. But anyway, we bring the donuts back and we have the helmet here. And I'd just like to reiterate this. Frank, and a shell lands, I guess about from here to the back of the room where I am. And Fields and I, with our donuts, we just keep walking. And Fields says to me, he says, how comes we kept walking? Why didn't we hit the ground? And I said, I don't know. I think we were trying to protect our donuts. I don't know. But anyway, we had our donuts and we brought them into the pillbox that had been destroyed, and we all had, that was our breakfast that morning. We all had at least one. Of course, I carried them, so I probably ate 2 or 3 of them. But, yeah, go ahead.
Did you have any health problems caused by the cold weather? I talked about the wet weather. What about the cold weather?
The cold weather, it was cold, and I mean, you know, except for dysentery, I didn't have really any, you know, I didn't get cold. I mean, when I say didn't cold,
You know,
no, I did get frozen feet.
I thought you did.
Yeah, I got frozen feet because I fell into the creek. I fell on the second day in the Siegfried line, I fell into the creek. Oh, that was a good attack. We were going to attack a pillbox, and they had a piece of like bamboo across the door. But we saw that bamboo, we thought it was a booby trap. So somebody said to me, here, you take a bazooka, and we'll go up into the pillbox, and you see anybody come out of that pillbox, shoot the bazooka into the pillbox. So, I mean, I was supposed to be a bazooka man at one time. Anyway, I don't know who carried the bazooka, I didn't. So I'm aiming the bazooka at the door, and here, there's no Germans in this pillbox. So we go in, and then after a while, somebody kicks the bamboo, and we don't have an explosion. So, But anyway, I did get frozen feet. I was back for about 4 weeks. And, yes,
In that there battle of Bulge, there's so many guys who got wounded. And before they could get out and get medical aid to them, they froze to death.
yes, yes.
We have a lot of boys who froze to death.
And some men lost their legs, lost their feet because they were frozen. Anybody else?
Anybody else?
One question, yes.
What was the name of the concentration camp again? in April?
Okay, I thank you. I wanted to say this. Flossenburg, amazingly, is in our history book. But we did take Mauthausen. And Mauthausen was really interesting. They were still taking people to the gas chambers when we got to Mauthausen. And then we took Gusen, G-U-S-E-N. These were in Austria. But Mauthausen, they were still taking them to the gas chamber as the 11th Armored came up.
Isn't that the one with the quarries, if I remember?
That's the one with the quarries. That's something like 18 steps or something that they had to go down to go to the quarries. Were you in a concentration camp? You weren't. Oh, okay. Yes.
I was in the concentration camp at Mauthausen.
At Mauthausen?
Yes.
You were a prisoner there?
Just 5, 6 days.
5, 6 days. You were captured toward the end of the war.
Yeah.
So we, 11th Army Division freed Mauthausen, Gusen. Flossenburg, amazingly, isn't much in the history book, except just mentioned that we came upon Flossenburg. And I mentioned about Dietrich Bonhoeffer was there in Flossenburg. Well, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope I did you justice.
We don't have news, we don't pass the hat, we pass the steel pot. And Harold, I asked you about when you were being strafed. I was curious about that because the last time my dad's outfit was strafed, the 104th Division, the 555th Anti-Aircraft Artillery shot down an ace. Unfortunately, it was Don Gentile in a B-51 Mustang.
Oh, I want to say this. No big deal here, but I'd like to say this. We up in the front line said, you know, a division like the 4th Infantry or the 1st Infantry, they are 3 divisions. One's in the hospital, one's in the grave, and one's in the front line. I believe that. For an outfit that's overseas for 2 or 3 years, I believe that.
Harold, thank you for
Thank you very much.
speaking. We're going to start a new tradition here. We picked it up from our Hershey Civil War Roundtable.
Thank you very much. I'd like to appreciate it.
We'd appreciate some help in stacking the chairs, those of you that are able-bodied. We appreciate